rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We reaching the top, we reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'm never going back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Live from iRacing's virtual Talladega Super Speedway in Lincoln, Alabama, welcome sim racing fans to round 11 of the North American Sim Racing Association Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the Fall Slammer 213, live on Racecraft TV. Happy that you're all joining us here on this beautiful Friday evening, wherever you're tuning in around the world. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Jordan Hicks. And for tonight, all track and car cameras were created by Istvan Balo at trackcams22.com. Jordan, we're entering another round of the championship, and now we're getting closer and closer into the playoffs, starting to take a look at the full picture of the points. The top 16 will be cut off and compete in the playoffs. Clint Mata, Stephen Williams, Jose Luis Rivera, and more under that cut line need to start focusing on points tonight as that cutoff line for the playoffs approaches.
And, you know, they're really going to fight really hard. You can see, like you mentioned, Josh, the four that are under that cut line. So it's going to be a tough fight for a lot of those drivers tonight because they just want to keep it clean and really get them points very high. But last week we saw Brady LaBeouf take the win at Las Vegas. So really looking forward to who goes to victory lane here tonight.
And speaking of that schedule that we just mentioned, Talladega tonight, Martinsville, Phoenix, Chicagoland. Then we will be able to lock over those top 16, and they will go competing in the Sweet 16 round of the playoffs. Those races that are highlighted in orange: Atlanta, Daytona, and Kansas. Then we go to the Nashville Super Speedway in Richmond in the Elite 8 round, as we will cut the field in half from the playoffs, go racing for 2 races, and then the final round in Charlotte, Championship 4, and classic NASCAR playoff rules. The first driver to cross the start-finish line in Charlotte at the checkered flag will earn the championship. A lot to look forward to when it comes to this calendar, and with some very unique courses on the horizon as well. Jordan, Super Speedway tonight, short track in Martinsville, a little bit of a hybrid between an intermediate and a short track at Phoenix, and the intermediate of Chicagoland to lead us into the playoffs. Definitely think a lot of drivers are going to have a good opportunity to get some more points under their belt in these last 4 rounds of the regular season.
And that's the thing, too, because we have a lot of drivers who prefer longer tracks, shorter tracks, and maybe even that part in the middle. So these drivers are really scattered out when it comes to performance on any sort of track. So if the longer tracks aren't the way that they perform well on and they prefer, we go to short tracks and everything. So it's a mixture of both worlds, and so these drivers really get a mix of everything when it comes to racing.
Take a look at tonight's race analysis as we go racing for 80 laps around the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Stage 1 will be 15 laps long. Stage 2 will be 30. Will be also 15 laps long. We'll end it on lap number 30. 100% fuel leads to a fuel window of just roughly about 36 to 40 laps, so they will not need to pit until the end of stage number 2. They will need to make 1 pit stop during the final stage, which is going to be roughly about 45 laps long after the caution to complete 80 laps here tonight. 3 sets of tires also in the pit lane for each of these drivers. That is also going to come into play, but it is time to take a look at the starting grid as we get ready to go racing here from virtual Talladega. Let's see who is starting where in the Fall Slammer 213. Lining up on the pole is going to be Dustin Scruggs with Kyle Hess to his outside. Stephen Gregory and Devin Painter are going to share that second row, with Blake Lothian and Clint Mata rounding out your first 3 rows. Back from there, Stephen Thomas and Chris Cinnamon going to share the 4th row. Keith Bradley, Jose Luis Rivera completing your top 10. Dana Shepard, Robbie Richards on that first 6 rows. And looking back from there, Brady LaBeouf, Taylor Peacock, Jeffrey Sickles, your top 15. Eric Zimmerman Harmon, Jacob Klinkart, Tory Thompson, and all the way completing the field, it'll be Joey Doucette, Bill Lester, Brandon Bullock, Raul Meza, Ben Ganoinski, and Logan Quinn, with Cody Knott starting shotgun on the field, P25. And we will take you live to the track in just a moment. But Jordan, let's take a look at where we are. Talladega Super Speedway, one of the most famous and one of the most treacherous courses in all of NASCAR. This thing is fast, and it will chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful.
And you could really go full throttle into these turns. So we're going to see a lot of, I feel, Josh, we're going to see a lot of bumping when it comes to going to those turns, because these drivers want to get the most speed they can out of their trucks. And we have a lot of fast drivers here tonight, so looking forward to go green.
And we will be going green very shortly here from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Field is getting ready to roll off, and we'll take you live to the track in just a moment and really get a look at what we are getting ready to go green with here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Some light technical difficulties on our side, luckily staying, of course, live to you here, and we will be ready to go for this start here in just a moment. And excited for everything that this race is going to bring, and just looking forward to continuing the season in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series as this season gets even more and more interesting as we continue to look down the calendar and getting close to playoff start time as well. Going to just make everybody just a little bit more on edge as we get closer and closer to the crescendo of this season. And the field has rolled off. They are behind the official iRacing pace truck at the front of the field, getting ready to take that green flag. And we do apologize a little bit for the trucks popping in and out. Hopefully that will resolve itself in due time. Trying all we can on this side to make sure that we are good to go. And Jordan, a lot to unpack, especially when it comes to the Talladega Super Speedway. Who are you looking at as possibly trying to get the win here tonight? Because it is going to be just a sort of unexpected race. Anybody can win at Talladega. That draft is the equalizer.
And that's the thing. You really don't want to be left on your own, because at that point you're just lost, and you really better hope someone comes up behind you and really helps you get that push. But Josh, we see it a lot. The 11 of Dustin Scruggs, he usually runs away from the field. Yes, he's starting P1. I don't want to say anything too early, but he's going to be my pick for tonight's race.
We'll see if he is able to get it done here tonight, and if we will see a brand new winner in this series. Anything can happen when we come to the Talladega Super Speedway. Official iRacing pace truck will make the hard left-hand turn into the pit lane. When this track was being constructed, Bill France wanted to sell more tickets down by turn number 1. So his idea was to put the start-finish line closer to turn number 1. Right here is where it normally is at Daytona. It's down on the short chute into the first corner here at Talladega. Green flag is up. We are racing in Alabama. Typical Talladega to start this race. Everybody is starting to get lined up in their respective draft pack. And Jordan, this is just the beginning of this race. These lines are going to continue to form up, and it's going to be a game of whichever line can move the best is going to be the dominant one. And right now, they look pretty even as they're still side by side. It's Kyle Hess leading the outside line, Scruggs leading the inside.
And you can see they're pretty much side by side. So, like you said, pretty equal right now. These drivers are should be really at least calm right now because we're only on lap 2, about to go on lap number 3. So they got a long race to go. Because this is Talladega, and it's no joke when it comes to really staying calm because you don't want to get too antsy at the start of the race and completely throw yourself out. And so you can see these drivers really just trying to stay bunched up together, stay in that draft so they don't get lost out on that track.
And Kyle Hess just barely getting by to lead that lap as he still leads the pack on the outside line. And lines starting to look a little bit even. I should say a little bit uneven, actually. The inside line does have a considerable amount of cars in it compared to that outside line. Dominant outside line looks to be about 6 cars right now. Bottom line looking to be about 7 in this lead pack. Starting to break up a little bit towards the back, but this main line up at the front, about 16 trucks strong, is staying side by side as they race onto the front straightaway here at Talladega. It'll put 3 laps behind him, go on to lap number 4, and just starting to get settled into this race, Jordan. This becomes the challenge of Talladega where, okay, we're getting stuck into a run. Gotta make sure you're not making those bad mistakes that a lot of drivers make of getting in the wrong line and going to the back. Yes, you have time to make that back up, but who's to say a big one won't come into play and everybody mid-pack and on gets caught up in the incident. Usually, if you're right up at the front or way in the back, you will end up missing that. If you're in the middle, you're in the prime position to get caught up in that incident.
And that's the thing I find too, because it also seems like if you're willing to go and pass someone, you better make sure you have someone with you because you just don't want to get powered around from everybody else. And so you really just got to wait for that time to really shine for you. And that's pretty much how it is at every track. So you really just got to be patient because that's the key factor here tonight, especially at Talladega, because everyone's just on your bumper willing to take a pass whenever they can and whenever that door opens up for them to get up another position and really try and hold their line.
Still 2 by 2 throughout this lead pack, and inside of that second row, Stephen Gregory in the 61. You're on board with the Indiana native. Right behind that bumper of Dustin Scruggs in the 11, who currently leads this group. You're on board with Scruggs now as he leads the field. Kyle Hess remaining side by side. You can see that number 86 machine just barely peeking into that onboard, but Dustin Scruggs continuing to show himself at the front of this field and leading, albeit just for a few moments, Jordan, as that outside line can get a push. They can get up just about even with Dustin Scruggs on the inside, but whenever they try and go to clear him, like you can see right there, they break up a little bit and then they end up falling back. They need to stay hooked up so they can power around Scruggs and get Hess clear the 11 so he can pull down in front of him. Right now, that doesn't seem like to be what they are doing. They just cannot get enough of a run to power by the 11. They can only get side by side.
And you can see everyone just really broke up on that outside line. So what I'm thinking, Josh, is maybe the inside line is where it's at right now because about more than half of this field are running that inside line because it just seems faster. You can see the 11 really clearing them, but like you were talking about, that outside line is still fast coming out of those corners, and when they seem to enter them as well, you can really see them on the outside line start to really lose it and that inside line really come into play, and they sort of really get equal again. And so it's really whatever line you really choose. You can see the 86 trying to power through the outside. He's really trying to make it stick, but that inside line seems too consistent right now, especially with the 11 of Scruggs on it, really leading that inside line.
Still side by side throughout the majority of this pack. Already getting to about halfway done here in the first stage. And Jordan, these stages are relatively short when you talk about them. 15 laps for both of our opening stages, and then it's some odd 50 laps, excuse me, at the end of this race, going to lap number 80. So they're really not in a long run in these stages, with it only being 15 laps. I mean, you think about the Carburetor Cup that you can race at iRacing, Daytona, Talladega, 15 lap races. They are not long at all. So these opening two stages are going to go by relatively quick, but it's a good indicator of who can work in the draft and who they want to work with around them. We know drivers out here, they're not just racing, they are looking for partners for later on in this race, and they can find a partner pretty early on. They can kind of stick with them throughout the entire race and always have a drafting partner on that racetrack.
And that's the thing too, especially when you're leading, these stages could feel like absolutely forever, because you're really just trying to make sure you don't mess up and keep your car a-okay, because as soon as you mess up, you're gonna start losing time and start losing positions on the track. And so, like I said, it could feel like the longest time ever, but, and like you said as well, it is also not the longest time as well. So if these drivers are going to really make a move, they kind of got to do it not relatively quickly, but they can't leave it till last minute, because then they're just going to get sucked up where they are and going to have to stay there depending on how the field is at that state of moment.
Scruggs definitely continuing to prove himself down on the bottom of the racetrack. Is take a look at Blake Lothian, one of the first drivers to hop up to the outside line at the front of this field from the bottom line. What can Lothian do when he races up on that outside line? You're on board at the 59 of Lothian now, trying to get even with Dustin Scruggs, just not close enough. And we'll see as he comes off of turn number 4 to the front straightaway if he can maybe get a little bit more of a run. Doesn't look like he can. He's not going to be able to pass for that race lead just yet. So, but Lothian hopping up to the outside line, a little bit interesting to see, Jordan, because these drivers usually, when they pick a line, they usually stay in that line, and the inside line wasn't checking up or anything. There was nothing going on there. Lothian just saw some confidence in the outside line. Now we're seeing Keith Bradley see some confidence in the outside line. Looks like that outside line will be used a lot tonight, because it's already being used. We're gonna have 5 to go in the stage this time by. These drivers are already getting a little bit more aggressive than they were to start this run.
And that's the best part about stage 1. You can really start to feel out that track. And so that's why I think it's a great move by Lothian, because he can really test out that bottom line. If he doesn't like it, he can move up to the outside, because they're both relatively equal, because as of right now, everyone's been staying bumper to bumper with each other. So relatively clean racing right now, but once it gets into stage 2 and 3, everything's going to be crazy, and they're really going to start sticking with their lines, because the fastest driver on that track is going to really want to make sure they can lock their position in, and whoever that fastest driver is going to try and make sure they go to victory lane.
Scruggs still leads, 5 to go in stage number 1. And we'll see who is going to walk away with this stage victory. Looks like Scruggs might be getting the best of anybody, but take a look at Keith Bradley up on that outside line, trying to do what he does best and take that lead away from Dustin Scruggs. Remember, Keith Bradley went back-to-back in the win column earlier this season. Daytona Road Course and the Pocono Raceway for Keith Bradley when it comes to race wins. A great season shaping up for Keith Bradley. Can he walk away with a stage win here at the Talladega Superspeedway? He leads the outside line, and it looks like it's strong enough. Jordan here, he's going to try and get that lead, and Bradley's going to pull all the way down to the yellow line. So a first successful lead change as Keith Bradley takes the lead. Starting to see that outside line definitely has the push to get a car around into the race lead. They just break up too quickly. They're already back to 5 trucks on the outside. Not nearly enough to try and get back up to get Blake Lothian now, who is leading that line, into the lead.
And I really think Keith Bradley really waited to the best time he possibly could, because I believe it's 2 to go right now, and so Bradley's only got a little bit he has to lead until he can walk away with that stage win. And it was a great move by him because he just completely had that run on the outside, dropped it down to the bottom, and completely cleared the 11 of Dustin Scruggs. And so a great move from the 18, just really hoping that he can hold him off for the next 2 laps and walk away with that stage 1 victory.
3 to go here in the stage. Here comes Blake Lothian. You're on board with him now. He gets clear. Kyle Hess was clear as well. The outside line coming alive here in the latter stage of stage number 1. Now, as they work their way back to the start-finish line, here is the big question. Now, here comes Kyle Hess on the outside line. Can Devin Painter give him enough? Lothian gets turned. Hess gets turned as well. Contact coming to the line of stage number 1. The caution flag is going to fly. The first incident of the night, Lothian gets turned. That could have been a lot bigger than it was. But Blake Lothian getting turned. Here is your replay. So Lothian gets turned up into Kyle Hess, and it was bumper cars from there, Jordan. It looks like both of them were the only 2 drivers to really get damage in this one. Everybody else getting off relatively scot-free.
And you can really see Lothian's just trying to make something work, but it just seemed like he maybe thought he was clear, or whatever happened. It just seemed like it didn't go his way and just completely shot him into that wall. Because you can just see he's running a perfect line right now, but it just seems maybe he got a tap on the bumper, maybe? No, he went down to the bottom and the 18 sort of clipped him and went right into the wall. But you can see everyone else scattering around on this track. So a big checkup for a lot of drivers because everyone from the front to the back completely had to check up. And Josh is going to be interesting, but I do believe, if I'm correct, the 18 of Keith Bradley is going to walk away with that stage win.
Does look like he will. And take a look at the damage on Devin Painter and Brady LaBeouf as well. The 64 and the 9 with some damaged race trucks. Remember, fast repair. We do not have any fast repairs in this series, so that's going to take a lot of really good race trucks out. And take a look at the back of Keith Bradley as well. If we go on board with Dustin Scruggs, you can see the back end of Keith Bradley with a little bit of damage to that rear spoiler. How is that going to affect the 18 truck at the front of this field? Could he possibly have some damage that is going to hurt him tonight? Only time will tell, and it will tell when we get back to racing. And pit road open this time, and it looks like Bradley's going to come in, and most of the drivers who need damage repair will come in. Everybody else staying out. Tires don't help you too much on a super speedway, and fuel is not needed just yet. So staying out on the racetrack is Dustin Scruggs, Dana Shepard, Clinton Mata, and it looks like Taylor Peacock, Jeffrey Sickles, and that is it for the drivers who stayed out under that caution. It looks like Logan Quinn also choosing to stay out as well. So that puts us into the stage number 1 break after that incident, and it is time to reveal the schedule for the next season of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, Season 4. We've had a great season so far here in Season 3. Now it is time to see where they will be going for Season 4. Let's take a look. So, we begin with the Clash on January 14th, Daytona International Speedway. And then, week after that, we begin the season at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Dover, Auto Club, North Wilkesboro, and iRacing Super Speedway. Double great races there, week 5 and 6. Las Vegas, Indianapolis Raceway Park, O'Reilly Motorsports Park or Lucas Oil Raceway Park for anybody who does not know what that track is. Very fast, short track. Texas, Talladega, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Indianapolis, Daytona International Speedway, and the Bristol Motor Speedway to round out the regular season. 2 drop weeks there. We'll take the best 12 races going into the points, which is the playoffs. Round number 1, the Sweet 16, Iowa, and another race at Talladega, then Kansas. Then the Elite 8, round 2 of the playoffs, Richmond and Darlington. That's going to be a very tough round. The Championship 4 heading to Homestead, Miami Speedway for the final race of the season on June 10th. Limited tires as always, no fast repairs as always, a max I rating of 3,000, and it'll be Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Season 4 of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. And if you want to sign up, their Discord link is currently on your screen, and you can get signed up for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series either the rest of this season or going into Season 4. Remember, you can still sign up for this season and come and join us each and every week and go racing with these drivers in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. But that'll be the schedule for next season, Season 4. A lot of interesting racetracks on that list that we are excited to see and watch these drivers try and tackle. Just like that, lights out on the iRacing pace truck, getting ready to go back to racing. Jordan, now with that caution, definitely think it's taking a bit of the wind out of the sails of a couple of drivers, but there's still some really good drivers at the front of this field, and even if they have a damaged race truck, as long as it's not affecting the speed of that truck, they can still run in the draft.
And that's the thing too. Yes, they've dropped back a little bit, but this opens the door for a few more drivers to really get their noses up into the lead and really race with the leaders right now. And so they really stuck in the back for that first stage. And now we're going to see, like I said, some new faces in that top part of this race. And you can still see the 11 of Dustin Scruggs really on that P1 spot right now. So Josh, he's really looking forward to really trying to run that outside line this whole night. But he's got a lot of fast competitors behind him, really looking for that open door to take over from him.
Who is going to walk away with this Stage 2 victory? Stage 1 victory for Dustin Scruggs. Can he go 2 for 2 in the stage wins tonight? That is the big question that everybody will be wondering. And will we see another wreck like we saw coming to that start-finish line to take on to the 2 laps to go of stage number 1? Where it's just a simple tap to the rear bumper, gets the driver loose, and they come back up. And luckily, it was only a couple truck incident, but it could have been a lot worse. As the pace truck will pull into the safety of the pit lane, ready to go. Stage number 2 on the Talladega Super Speedway. Field ready to go as Dana Shepard way out in front. Very strange to see as Dustin Scruggs is the control truck. That could be a penalty for Dana Shepard. We'll have to wait and find out. He's going to fall all the way to the back here as Scruggs gets away with the race lead through turns 1 and 2. Clint Mata to the back bumper of the 11. Mata is one of those drivers on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoff cut line. They need a good night here at Talladega. And Jordan, as the field gets up to full song down the back straightaway, already starting to see more too wide through this series of cars as Keith Bradley jumps up to the outside line. Help from Raul Meza there in that second row.
You can see a lot of these drivers really testing out which part of this track is still that dominant, I would say, because before we really saw Keith Bradley on the inside, maybe he might have ran the outside. Kind of forget a little bit, but you can see he's really trying to get help from a lot of drivers, and a lot more drivers have really joined that outside line. But you can see the 7 of Clint Mata really on the back bumper of Dustin Scruggs. So Josh, if that door opens for the 7, he's gonna take it, and who knows when, because Dustin Scruggs can mess up at any point, and there goes that lead.
Down the back straightaway they go, and Bradley with a good shove from Raul Meza as they come down the back straightaway. Is anything going to change at the front of the field? Bradley with a huge shove. Might get just about even with Dustin Scruggs. Couldn't get past him. You're on board with Raul Meza, currently trying to give a bit of a shove to the back bumper of Keith Bradley. Not working too well, but definitely making some headway on the outside line as long as they're not falling back. That would be the worst thing as the inside line gets a little bit squirrely. Now here comes the outside line to try and prevail. 11 to go in stage number 2. Not enough, but take a look at Keith Bradley way up to the wall. Jordan, he's going to get shuffled back on the outside line.
And you can see how fast everyone just started passing him. So that just shows you how fast you can lose your spots just like a mess up like that. It just seems like he got shot up to the top side of the track, and there he goes, because you can see he's just fallen down so far. He's currently sitting in 11th when he was just racing side by side with the leader of the 11th. So like I said, that just shows you how fast you can lose your spot, and if you mess up, you really got to have a lot of time to really catch that up, because we're 10 to go until we're at the second stage break of the night. So if Keith Bradley wants to get back up there, he's got a lot of fighting to do.
A lot of fighting is right. Now everybody going to settle out for the most part. Down to the bottom of the racetrack goes pretty much the entire field, and we'll see if anybody is going to be brave enough to step out to the outside, and there they are. Taylor Peacock goes up to the outside line. Doesn't look like it is going to be enough just yet to take over that race lead. He's going to get close, but you can see as they enter the corner, Peacock only side by side with Dustin Scruggs going through turns 3 and 4. So keep the lead over to Dustin Scruggs in the 11 machine. How about Tory Thompson in the 88? I haven't done much talking about him tonight, or pretty much any night when it comes to the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, Jordan, but now running up here in P3, third on that inside line. Great night shaping up for the 88. This is just classic Talladega. Unfamiliar faces running at the front of the field.
And you could see he was he was up into 18th, and he's up into 3rd right now. So a great night for him. And that's the thing, like you mentioned, Josh, it's Talladega. Anything could happen. So you really just got to stay in your groove and really hope you don't mess up, because if you're really one of those drivers who really get tossed in the back and sort of have to sit there for the whole race because everyone's just so quick, because we have so many fast drivers in this league, you really just run your own line, and eventually you'll make it up to the top. And you can see for the 88 right now, he's having a very, very wonderful night right now. You see a few drivers get a little squirrely in the back, but everyone seems still good. But like I was saying, just an outstanding night, and you can see some cars around. That I believe is the 30 of Ben Gwinski, or not too sure what happened to him, so I guess we're going to take a look at the replay eventually. But yeah, definitely a great night for the 88, but your leader still is the 11 of Dustin Scruggs.
Looked like the 30 just got a little bit loose coming off of the tri-oval and went down into the inside of the racetrack. No contact with any truck, no caution, so we'll stay green and stay with this battle for the front of the field with Scruggs, Mata, and more. There's Blake Lothian on the apron. He was involved in that first incident, letting the lead pack go by, and that has got to be so heartbreaking for him, Jordan. He was once leading this pack, and now it's roaring by him on the outside at 180 miles an hour. To the race lead goes Taylor Peacock, though. Great shove from Keith Bradley. He'll pull down to the bottom of the racetrack, and new leader in the 81. It looks like the outside line, even when it's not formed up, if that inside line isn't formed up, they're able to get a huge shove on by, but it really is only for one truck, as now Keith Bradley has no help except for a couple truck lengths back now as Meza moves up to the outside.
You can see he's really struggling to really get somebody to draft with him, because eventually, Josh, if you get left up there on your own, you may have a chance of falling back to the back part of the field, and so that's not what you want. So the 18 really needs some help right now on that outside line to really get him back in the groove, and if he can, really get down to that inside line, because that seems where all the popularity is standing right now, and that's a hot spot on this track right now.
6 laps to go in stage number 2. Big question is, how long will we run here in this pack? And I think a more important question definitely is, will we see another big one out here on the racetrack? Could very well happen, but we will see if it'll happen coming to the line here in stage 2 like it did stage 1, or we're going to see it in the long green flag run of stage number 3. Remember, stage 3, 50 laps on paper. In reality, probably going to be somewhere about 46 laps. So we'll have to see what happens in that final stage. But 5 to go now here in stage number 1. It's Taylor Peacock on the inside. Keith Bradley trying to make a move at work on the outside line. Just not enough of a run up on that outside line, and he's going to move down to the inside line. So that will now put a majority of the field on the inside line. Now leading the outside, it is Raul Meza, and I believe the 3 of Chris Cinnamon. Yes, it is. That is the 3 of Chris Cinnamon right behind him, giving him a little bit of a shove, but definitely not enough to reach up to the lead pack. Eric Zimmerman, damaged driver from the first incident, up on the outside line. Pack will go on by. Now the question becomes, Jordan, 4 to go in the stage when they come across the start-finish line here. Who's willing to make that move for the stage win? It looks like Keith Bradley is looking to get aggressive once again.
But you can also notice that 11 machine, he's right on the bumper of the 81. And Josh, we haven't seen the 81 much tonight, so a great move to that lead for Taylor Peacock in the 81 machine. But like I was saying, that 11 machine, when he feels like that door is open, he's not scared to take it. But it all depends on what happens with time, because if one mess up happens, you never know what could happen. He could drop spots, he could gain a spot. And so we saw a wreck at our first stage break. So I'm really curious to know what's going to happen. And like you said, who is going to be that driver to take that move to try and get that lead?
Side by side, once again in the lead pack is Keith Bradley. Goes to the outside, pulls up even with Dustin Scruggs in second place, but now he's going to try and get around Taylor Peacock. As you can see, Scruggs almost step out of line, just getting a little bit loose in the tri-oval. Chris Cinnamon reacted to that by going up about a lane. Luckily, no caution, no contact. We stay green as Taylor Peacock pulls onto the back straightaway, leading this pack. 2 drivers, I believe Cody Knott and Devin Painter in front of them, that they will go lap, and here comes a huge shove from Cinnamon, put Keith Bradley up to the point. That is exactly what Bradley needed to do to get this race lead. It'll be 2 to go in the stage this time by Jordan, but now can Raul Meza give Chris Cinnamon enough of a push, move the 3 into his first stage win of the season?
And it just seems like everyone on the outside's been getting that push of the night to where they can dive down to that bottom. We've seen that 2 times this race, Josh. We've seen it from the 81, and now we've seen it from the 18. So I'm curious to know if it's going to happen with the 3 machine. It's all depending on time and how much of a push he gets, because he's just got to hope Meza's there really on that bumper to really provide that draft in order to take that lead.
To the back straightaway they go. 2 laps left here in the stage. There's the shove we were waiting from Meza to Cinnamon. Down the back straightaway into 3. Not enough for Cinnamon yet. We'll see if what Meza can do on this final lap of the stage, but it looks like all Keith Bradley. And will Taylor Peacock have anything to say about it? Is he going to pull out to the outside? Yes, he is. Side by side for the race lead as Bradley's now on the inside. Peacock goes to the outside. Can he get enough of a shove from Cinnamon? It's the white flag lap here in stage number 2. Peacock gets a huge shove from Cinnamon up into the race lead. Cinnamon gets to pull down into P2. Move Bradley to P3. Now Bradley goes back to the outside. Can he get a shove from Raul Meza down the back straightaway and try and make a run at this stage win? They'll work into turn number 3. Who is going to walk away with this stage victory? Leading the way, it is the 51 machine. Or 81, excuse me, of Taylor Peacock. Cinnamon sits right behind him on the inside line. coming to the stripe. Is anybody going to pull out and make a move? Nobody will. Checkered flag of stage number 2 at the line. And it is the 81 of Taylor Peacock who is going to walk away with your stage 2 victory. Some great maneuvers from Taylor Peacock in this race to move him to the win of stage number 2. An absolutely fantastic showing in that second stage. We'll take a short break here on Racecraft TV, but do not go anywhere. It's more green flag action from Talladega coming up next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hickory on a beautiful 80-degree Easter Saturday. Mike.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the NASRA Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to iRacing's virtual Talladega Superspeedway. You're tuning into live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Joshua Lee, Jordan Hicks back with you here in the booth, and it is time to go racing in stage number 3 tonight. Going on to lap number 35 of 80 with a good amount of time still remaining here in this race tonight. We'll go green with 46 laps to go. Pit stops still on the horizon. Everybody pitted under that last caution, for some of them for tires, but everybody for fuel. They will still need to pit one more time before the checkered flag to make it all the way to the end of this race on fuel. Time for Racecraft's TV Sounds of Speed as we go back to racing at Talladega. Hear the sounds of 185 miles an hour. Racing inches apart at over 180 miles per hour. That is what Talladega is all about. Clint Motta currently holds the lead of this race over the 81 of Taylor Peacock. Both of them currently running on that inside line. Outside line, never mind. Now outside line is led by Taylor Peacock. It was led by Dustin Scruggs, but now Peacock pulls up to the outside line, and he wants to lead a little bit of that outside line right now, and that's exactly what he is going to do. He's going to lead a bit of the race as well as he gets clear of Clint Motta on that inside line. Goes to show, Jordan, just how working these lines sometimes can do them favors, but we're seeing a lot of side-by-side action here. A lot of drivers moving, trying to find the right line, even seeing a little bit of 3 wide here for a moment, but they still have over half of this race left. The time, they can be a bit aggressive right now, try and get some track position a little bit earlier in this run, but they still have a long way to go, and a tore up race truck is not going to do anybody any good.
Especially at Talladega, you got a tore up truck, you're most likely going to fall to the back of that field depending on the damage, if so. But you can see, Josh, that the 11 of Dustin Scruggs, he's peeking on the outside now, so we usually have seen him on the inside line all of tonight, so maybe he's trying something new. We've seen a lot of lead changes come from that outside line, so maybe he's trying to open that door for himself to try and peek to that outside. He's got a bit to go right now. He's fallen back a little bit, but with the right draft, he can sure enough get into that lead with the amount of power these trucks have.
Peacock in the front of the field now. Clint Mata sits behind him. You're on board with Clint Mata now. Still looking for that first win of the season and looking to get into the transfer spots for the playoffs as well. He is racing for multiple different things tonight. We'll be coming across the line this time by to put 39 laps behind us. It'll be 41 to go. Look who's looking for the lead again. Dustin Scruggs in the 11 machine. Not going to be able to clear enough to pull down into the bottom line. Taylor Peacock continues to lead down there. But with the amount of drivers that we are seeing on that outside line now, Jordan, starting to become a little bit apparent just how much help you need if you're on the outside line. You need a huge push to make anything happen up there. Inside line, runs are going to come naturally because it is, of course, naturally the shortest way around the racetrack. When you're running down there, you don't need as much of draft help to move forward. When you're on that outside line, you need a ton of help, which is what Scruggs is getting right now, but even then, not doing too much as he can only get side by side. Not able to clear Peacock yet, and he's not going to do it into 3.
And you can see they're pretty much side by side. He's got help from the 18 of Keith Bradley, so maybe this is a sign. Maybe Scruggs is going to try and use that draft for his advantage to get that lead. But that inside line, like you were talking about, Josh, it's so powerful compared to that outside line to where you almost need like you said, you need so much help going up there and really using it because it could be so powerful on these straightaways and exits of these corners. But that inside line is never gone, and there's always a driver down there. So you really got to make sure if you're going to pass on that outside line, you have some help, because if not, you're going to be lost stranded and you're just going to fall back.
Keith Bradley went up way to the outside line, went 3 wide for a moment, gets back to the outside line and gets back into line, I should say. Now is in mid-pack there, and you can see that 18 still at the front. Taylor Peacock. Dustin Scruggs still leads the outside line. Interesting to see Stephen Gregory back up here, Jordan, because he was one of the fast trucks at the beginning of this race, has found himself back up at the front of the field here, giving a push to Dustin Scruggs, who he was leading with earlier on in this race. He's found his way back up to the front. Can he lead is the big question. You need a huge shove if you want to get to the front from the outside line. It looks like Gregory might be able to give that to Scruggs, but then who's he going to get that shove from? Taylor Peacock, or sorry, Keith Bradley behind him, Brady LaBeouf behind him can, but really tonight, only driver he's been working with is Dustin Scruggs. We're starting to get into the portion of the race where you want to work with drivers that you've been working with so far in this race because you can trust them that they'll give you the right draft.
And that's the thing, at that first part of that race, you really want to figure out who you can trust, who you can go with, because you don't want to draft with someone at the start of the race, be perfectly fine, and then midway through, they may leave you because they may not know you're trying to work with them. And so you really just got to really trust who you're working with. And that duo right there, the 81 and the 11, seem pretty good right now. They just need that one big push of a draft to really push them up there. And Josh, maybe they could be leading together this race in the next coming laps, but they've got 2 fast racers in front of them, the 81 of Peacock and the 7 of Mata. So they got a lot of work to do because they're on the outside line. It seems pretty equal with the amount of drivers on the outside and inside, but with that outside, you need a little more than that inside does because it's pretty hard to run that outside line, especially here at Talladega, because that inside line is so powerful.
Clint Mata still just stuck behind the 81, and that becomes so challenging for a driver when you reach the wall. And by the wall, I'm not meaning the walls around the racetrack. I mean the wall in the draft, to where there's two lines going in front of you. You get a huge run, and you can't take it anywhere. As we see Dustin Scruggs with a great run go into the lead, and doesn't look like anywhere for Cody not to go as Bradley pulls back down to the bottom of the racetrack. But as I was talking about with reaching the wall, Jordan, when you get such a huge run, if you can't take it anywhere, you're forced to get on the brakes or get fully out of the gas. You're going to ruin your own momentum. So if you get momentum, you want to take it. But if you reach up to a point where you cannot go anywhere, that could lead to not only incidents, but it could lead to you dropping down the order because you had to completely just ruin your run to avoid hitting anybody else.
And that's the thing. You got to be careful on the way you brake check, because like Meza is right now to the 18 to Keith Bradley will say, if Bradley were to check up in any sort of way, there would be nowhere for the 93 machine to go, and that could just be a race ender right there. So you got to be careful on, if you're running into a situation where you can't go anywhere, you got to be careful and think about the people who are behind you, because if something happens, they're waiting on really you to really be that call on where you're going, because if that outside line sees a wreck in the middle of the track, depending on where they go, if it's safe, you may want to follow them. So it's really that person who's in front of you's call, and really, you just got to be really careful on which lane you take and how careful you are, because at Talladega especially, anything can happen. Wrecks can be so unidentified to a point where it can happen within seconds. So you just got to be careful and really trust the guy in front of you.
Speaking of wrecks, we have not seen a wreck since coming to the line of stage number 1. Are we brewing up for one now? I say that as we go 3 wide for a little bit of the pack. An outside line started to form there for a moment. Now has become deformed as LaBeouf becomes the only driver stuck on that outside line now. Down the back straightaway they work, and now Raul Meza leads the outside line, but Scruggs has been consistently finding himself back up to the front of this field. Don't think it is by coincidence, really, Jordan, that Scruggs is at the front of this field. Remember, winner from Bristol, winner from Darlington, trying to be the first driver to win 3 races this season, and he said he's racing part-time this season. If he walks away with 3 wins, that is going to be huge. But somebody looking for his first win is Raul Meza on the outside. Jose Luis Rivera, who's right behind him, also looking for his first win. A lot of unknowns when it comes to who's winning and how exactly that is going to affect just the stat book and the points when it comes to this series, Jordan.
And the thing too is we've really only had 2 different winners. The rest have won several times, and so if Meza can pull this off, he's just got to stay really consistent. He's running right beside Scruggs, and so he's got that open door. He's just got to be really careful on how much pressure he really puts on himself, because he's got a bit to go. It's sort of in the mix of, it's a long time, but it's not a long time, because he's up there right now, so he could feel like he's going to be up there for a while, and so he's just got to really keep that momentum high. And if he walks away with this race win, Josh, it'll be a great night for him, because we don't see him really up in the lead all that much, because he usually sometimes gets involved in wrecks that are completely started somewhere else on the track, and he just gets somehow caught up into them. So a great night for the 93 machine of Meza, and he's running side by side with the 11 of Scruggs right now.
Side by side, and grabbing the lead is Meza with a shove from Jose Luis Rivera. Gets him loose. That's going to not only hurt Meza on the outside line, that is going to hurt the 97 of Jose Luis Rivera, who now loses a ton of momentum, falls back on the outside line, tries to get into the inside, can't do it. Torrey Thompson fills that hole. So now Dustin Scruggs back to the lead of this race, and take a look at this now, Jordan. Jose Luis Rivera is stuck in the middle. No line to run with. This is disastrous for the 97. unless he can get a line to run with it. It looks like he will here with Keith Bradley. That just saved him from losing so many positions and falling down into, I believe, P13 at the tail end of this field. Not even P20 at the tail end of this field.
And that's the thing, too. I could just only imagine what his spotter was like when he was stuck in the middle. Because, especially at Talladega, when you're going so quick, your spotter was just saying outside, inside continuously, because you really just got to trust your spotter with what's clear and what's not. And so you really just got to stay in your spot until you feel that time is right where you can get out of that middle line, because that middle line here at Talladega can be something else when you're running with drivers who have been running up bumper to bumper with each other from the start of this race. So it can be a lot of pressure when you're stuck in the middle, but he seemed to found his way on the outside line, and he's trying to run side by side with the 11 right now.
Side by side, front of this field. 30 laps to go this time by, and time is definitely starting to run out. We're past halfway now. These drivers need to start thinking about pit strategy, Jordan, because it gets turned. Goes Jose Luis Rivera. He slams in to the 81 of Taylor Peacock on the inside line. Can everybody get back into line safely? It looks like they can. Rivera getting a huge shot from the 18 of Keith Bradley. We'll take a quick look at the replay as they come down the back straightaway. And here is the touch right there. Goes into Peacock, and both of them only make contact with each other. No contact with any other driver, but we head back up now into this pack. And like I was mentioning, Jordan, these drivers will need to start thinking about pit strategy. And when are they going to pit? Who are they going to pit with? You cannot pit solo on super speedways. You need to pit with somebody else. And if you don't, you are going to lose the race unless a yellow gets called. So they need to start coordinating. Okay, when are you pitting? When are you pitting? I'll pit on the same lap. They need to make sure they have drivers to pit with whenever they're thinking about pitting, which has to be somewhat soon. Will we see drivers cut this stage in half, or are they going to run the tanks dry?
And that's the thing too. Time will only tell. And so, like you said, these drivers just got to wait and really hope that the driver in front of them, or whoever they can go with, goes in at the time that you feel is comfortable, because you don't want to be stuck out on that racetrack just running out of fuel continuously, and maybe even you're running low on grip on your tires. And so it's really just a waiting game, but you can't wait for too long, because eventually you'll just start falling down the order and really have nowhere to go and be forced to really go and pit, and unfortunately maybe even go a lap down depending on how long your pit stop is.
Field now single file as Jose Luis Rivera went up to the lead for a moment, then Keith Bradley got it. Now that second truck in line is Chris Cinnamon. He is currently 2 laps down. He is not in this lead fight, and it looked like he might have had some issues there. Just got pulled off of the racetrack. Nope, there he is. He is back into the pack. Having some internet issues is that number 3 of Chris Cinnamon. But he is giving a little bit of help to Keith Bradley, and now serving Jordan as a bit of a wall in between Bradley and Jose Luis Rivera. Rivera does not want to see the back bumper of the 3 because he is not racing the 3. It's only giving him even more work to do and even more of a draft needed to try and get that race lead away from Keith Bradley, because he's not only going to have to pass 1 truck, he's going to have to try and pass 2.
And you can also see everyone just started to form down to that inside line. So everyone seems to be on the same page here and really trying to run that inside line. So like you said, the 97 is going to really have to make something work if he wants to make it to that lead.
Back into turn number 1, 27 laps to go. definitely no pit stops are on the horizon. And with a pit window of roughly about 36 to 40 laps, it really becomes just a guessing game of when these drivers are going to make that pit stop, because they can really make it at any point now and be good to the end. But normally we'd see that on intermediates, where we'd see, you know, a bunch of different strategies. We can't have a ton of different strategies at Talladega because they need to pit with somebody else. They need to pit with the pack. I do believe at least somewhat soon we're going to start to see a little bit more of drivers start to just sort of mention over the radio, hey, I'm coming down pit road, or start to coordinate, okay, when are you pitting, and trying to see when the drivers around them will start coming into the pit lane so they can then coordinate. This is it becomes a chess game, Jordan, when it comes to these super speedways of getting on and off of pit road under the green flag. If we don't see a yellow flag, we will have these green flag pit stops, which is just going to throw an entire wrench into everything here, because it becomes such a huge chess game of trying to decide when to pit and who to pit with as well.
And that's the thing, a lot of pressure is put on you when you go into that pit lane, because if you go in with too much speed, you may get a black flag for speeding in pit lane, and if you go in too fast to your pit box, you may go a little too far forward and have to reverse. So it's all about that pressure on you and how confident you feel going into that. And so, especially in times like this, if it's a green flag pit stop, you really got to make sure you nail it so you don't lose spot on the track, because that's the last thing you want to do, especially this far into the race.
Down the back straightaway they go. 25 laps to go. Everybody, if they pit now, is good to the end on fuel. We will not have a fuel mileage race. And with 46, I believe 47 laps here in the stage, also not looking at anybody trying to stretch these fuel tanks they're currently on to the checkered flag. It'd be not only insanely difficult to do, but borderline impossible to do. And it would cause a lot of off-throttle time, which they could be getting in the draft. Maybe some drivers might start to think about it, but safe thing is, when you see drivers pitting, pit with them and just make sure you are good to the end on fuel. If there's one place you don't want your engine sputtering for fuel, it is in the pack at 180 miles an hour at Talladega Super Speedway. Pulling away at the front of the field now is Keith Bradley and Chris Cinnamon, wondering if we are going to see Jose Luis Rivera go for the race lead before pit stops, or if he's going to wait until those pit stops start to commence. Remember, that 3 is 2 laps down, sitting in the second row of this line. But with everybody single filing out, Jordan makes it just a lot easier for drivers to work their way into the pit lane, because nobody is going to have to try and race from the outside line through cars on the bottom trying to get into the pit lane.
And it just makes it a lot easier for these drivers too, because that's the last thing you want, racing people on the outside, because if you get stuck up there when everyone's going to pit, now you got to go around the track a whole nother time. And so that's the last thing you want, especially at Talladega, because of how long this track is. But Josh, it sort of looked like you could see the 3 of Chris Cinnamon goes around, makes some contact, and that's going to bring out the next caution here tonight.
That was an incredibly interesting wreck there on the back straightaway. We'll take a look at a replay, but it looked like Keith Bradley went to the bottom line, just like for a moment, went down to the bottom, and then Jose Luis Rivera followed him down there, came back up, and led to contact with the 3. There goes Bradley. There goes Rivera. Rivera comes up, hooks the 3, and Cinnamon gets turned into the apron of turn 2. What an interesting incident this was. You're on board with Cinnamon here. So you'll see Bradley goes down. Cinnamon gets out of the gas to let Bradley back up, and there's the hook. One more look, this time on the top of Jose Luis Rivera. Man, that was just a miscommunication in the line, it looked like there. Jordan just... I don't think Jose Luis Rivera knew what Keith Bradley was doing and just went down trying to follow the leader and ended up hooking the 3. Just an unfortunate incident.
And I'm curious to know why the 18 really dove down below the apron like that, because as it was happening, I was going to say maybe he's going to try and signal he's going into the pit lane, but no, it just seemed like he may have gotten a little loose. But these drivers are going to take this caution as a chance to go down pit lane and really not mess up where they are on the track right now. So, but yes, the whole sort of, it's very interesting to see how that happened and really what the 18 was trying to do, because it didn't look like he got hooked or anything, or he didn't even seem like he got loose. Just a very, very weird wreck here at Talladega, but we got 22 to go right now, and so these drivers are in the pit lane getting a nice fresh Goodyear tires and some more fuel on their trucks.
We'll see who is going to win this race off of pit road. This could be a relatively huge race off, because preferably this is going to be the last time drivers come down into the pit lane for a decent amount of the field. They still have one set of tires left, but we don't normally talk about Talladega and tires, so it looks like that is going to be just about it for the pit lane tonight. And Taylor Peacock gets out first. Jose Luis Rivera, Dustin Scruggs, Keith Bradley, Jeffrey Sickles, your top 5. 21 to go from Talladega. When we come back, we go back to racing from the world's fastest super speedway for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Don't go anywhere as coverage continues.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Welcome back to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. You're tuning in to live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the round 11 from Talladega Super Speedway. Glad all of you could join us here on this beautiful Friday evening, wherever you're tuning into us around the world. We thank you for tuning in to Racecraft TV tonight. who is going to walk away with this win from Talladega? 19 laps to go. And these could be the most important laps of the race. Taylor Peacock leads the field to green. Jose Luis Rivera to his outside. Time quickly starting to run out here from virtual Talladega. Remember, we still have Martinsville, Phoenix, and Chicagoland left in the regular season. Atlanta, Daytona, Texas, Nashville, Richmond, and Charlotte in the playoffs. And we are back to racing here from Talladega. 19 laps to go, and leading them into turn number 1 is Taylor Peacock, trying to pull away. A great run on the bottom of the racetrack and a good shove now, Jordan, from Dustin Scruggs. Keith Bradley's up in this top 3. How about Jeffrey Sickles up to P4 as they roll onto the back?
We've had a lot of new faces up in the top, so it's great to see them all really trying to fight. You can see a car is around in the back, Josh. Not too sure who it is, but right off the bat, you can just see all the smoke on the backstretch. It seemed like the 30 machine, so interesting to see what exactly really happened to him, because we were just coming right out of that restart out of turn 2, so curious to know what happened to that 30.
Oh, and it looked like, just from that quick replay there, I'm not sure he even got a tag from anybody. Let's find out. Oh, he did get a tag from the 7 of Clint Mata down the back, and that is enough to bring out the yellow flag. Just a simple little spin around for the 30 of Ben Ganoinski. Contact with Clint Mata in the 7. There's that tap right there. There's the spin. And down into the apron. And that brings out another caution flag. And admittedly, not a ton there to bring out the yellow flag, Jordan. But this is just going to make it just a little bit more intense now that we have another yellow flag. We're going to rack them up for another restart. This time probably with about a little less than 15 laps to go, which is just going to make this even more interesting when we go back green.
And that's the thing, they have to sit through this whole entire caution now, because we've seen ever since we went green recent, like with the last few, not even the last few laps, that last restart we just had, these drivers have been so antsy to really go for that race win, and now they're gonna have to sit through another caution. So Josh, I wouldn't be surprised to see how antsy these drivers are gonna get and really see the outcome of this race.
How is this outcome going to be? We're going to find out in just a little bit more time than we were originally expecting, as we're back under the yellow flag, pacing behind the official iRacing pace truck. And they'll come back across the line. I believe take 2 laps to go under the yellow flag. And continue to work under this caution period. Remember that we have a ton more action that you can catch on Racecraft TV. Monday nights, World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship Qualifying Series. That's on Monday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. You can tune into that live here on Racecraft TV. Also, make sure you don't miss Racecraft TV Rallycross from Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for RX2, which is the more amateur drivers. Then around 6:40, we go green for RX1, which is pro-level iRacing Rallycross drivers. Make sure you tune into that Sundays at 6 p.m. as well as the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Friday nights, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch it here on Racecraft TV, and we'll get a good look at the schedule as well for the remainder of the season. Martinsville, Phoenix, Chicagoland to round out the regular season. Atlanta, Daytona, Kansas, Nashville, Richmond, and Charlotte to crown a champion. Only 9 rounds remain after tonight. We enter in to the final half of this season. Tonight officially put us over halfway, and we're glad that all of you can join us live on Racecraft TV every Friday night for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Of course, a ton more action coming up tonight as well in the race from Talladega. There'll be 15 laps to go, and we go back to green. Of course, assuming drivers will take one to go this time by. More action that you can catch in terms of upcoming events on Racecraft TV. How about the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship? We go racing for round number 2 of the season this Wednesday night. Make sure that you are tuned in here on Racecraft TV. Evan Basoko and myself on the call, and you can catch all that action beginning at roughly about 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Racecraft TV. And the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship. If you love off-road racing, make sure you tune in for that one as we go racing in the Pro 4 trucks. And the next round from Crandon, always an exciting round when we go to the Crandon International Raceway. Down the back straightaway the field goes. It'll be 15 laps to go when they come across the line. And now, Jordan, familiar territory. We saw 15 lap stages when it came to stage 1 and 2. Stage 2 was only about 11 laps with the caution laps, or about like 12 to 13 laps with the caution laps. First one was about 14 laps with that late caution. But now this is familiar territory. It's a short run to the finish. Only going to make these drivers even more aggressive.
You know, it's really going to be a fight to the end because we have so many of the fastest drivers up in the top. We've seen the 81 all of tonight. We've seen the 11 almost this whole entire race from when we started, and you can see the 18 of Keith Bradley sitting right behind. But there's a lot of drivers behind there, Josh, that can get into that lead and take home that win. So it's not like we're just counting those 3. We're counting this whole entire field, because if you're in the back, you still have a chance to take this win, because you never know what's going to happen with 15 to go at the line. These drivers are going to race their hearts out, and they're just ready because they just sat through a pretty long caution, because this is Talladega. They are not short, and so these drivers are ready to go back at it.
15 laps to settle it. We'll go on board with one of the dominant drivers all night, Keith Bradley in the 18. Let's see how he can restart with 15 to go. You're on board with Bradley for the opening lap of this run. Keith Bradley, second truck in line as they come across the start-finish line. Take a look at this 3-truck breakaway at the front of the field, with Taylor Peacock leading the way, Keith Bradley in second, Dustin Scruggs in third. If they pull away too much, Jordan, that pack is going to catch them. Here comes Brady LaBeouf and Clint Mata with a huge push on the outside.
And that's the thing. You don't want to really run away with that lead, especially with 14 to go, because that whole pack is just going to catch you, because they have so many more cars with so much more power to really catch back up to you. And you can see that outside line trying to form up. Only a few drivers up there right now, as most of them are all on the bottom, but you can see that 9 machine really trying to make that outside line work with the 7 of Clint Mata right behind him.
trying to make that outside line work. I think is the key there. Trying, because right now they do not have a lot of trucks up there. Some more joining them in the back, not going to help them at the front. But look at Clint Mata giving huge shoves to the back bumper of Brady LaBeouf, trying to push him around. Just cannot do it. They stay even now, side by side off of turn number 2. Can LaBeouf get enough of a run to take that lead away from Taylor Peacock? Remember, LaBeouf won his first ever NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series race of his career 1 week ago in Las Vegas, and he's going to get turned. He gets turned down into Bradley. Mata gets turned. It's the big one at Talladega in 3. Numerous cars involved in this one, and the caution flag will fly. They got a little too aggressive and junked a handful of race trucks. Mata just got a little bit too much on the bumper of Brady LaBeouf there. Jordan got on it a little bit too wrong and sent him down into Bradley, and that started the chain reaction from there.
And you can see a lot of them almost saved it, Josh. You can see Bradley just completely got shot to the bottom, almost saved it, but then he got nicked a little bit from the 7 of Mata. You can see them running on the backstretch right now. We're taking another look. But you can see they're really trying to make something happen. But you can see the 9 gets turned. The 18 tries to save it, but the 7 gets turned as well. And that just completely sets up for a huge crash here tonight at Talladega with only 12 to go. So they're going to have to sit once again and still keep that pressure going. And they're going to be really antsy going back to that restart.
A ton of great race trucks just got caught up in that incident. So unfortunate to see all of the fast drivers that were just caught up in that one. But that puts us back under the yellow flag. And Taylor Peacock back up to the front of this field. This is going to severely bring the amount of drivers in this pack as well a bit down. And we'll see who can use this to their advantage. Joey Doucette is up in a P3. Stephen Gregory's still up here. Stephen Thomas is up here now. One of the leader of the points by, I believe, still over 100 points at the front of the field, is now in the running for this win. Who can use this caution as a blessing and try and walk away with a win from Talladega? Green flag action when we return will be inside of 10 laps to go on Racecraft TV here from virtual Talladega. The conclusion of the Fall Slammer 213 is coming up next. Welcome back to virtual Talladega Super Speedway. We're going green with 9 laps left here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series Fall Slammer 213. Joshua Lee, Jordan X back with you here in the booth. And as a reminder, all cameras tonight were created by Istvan Ballo. You can check him out at trackcams22.com. Ready to go back to racing. 9 laps to go. After a relatively big wreck, we still have a couple of those drivers left here in the pack. Majority of them have taken it behind the wall to get damage repaired. But for these drivers up front, Taylor Peacock, Jose Luis Rivera, Joey Doucette, Stephen Gregory, Stephen Thomas, out of those names that I just read off, only one of them has a win, and it's Stephen Thomas from Gateway earlier this season. High chance we see a new winner this season in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series out of this race from Talladega. Taylor Peacock leads. Jose Luis Rivera to the outside. Joey Doucette, Stephen Gregory, Stephen Thomas, the top 5. Out of the tri-oval they go. 9 laps to settle it from Dago. We're back racing. Rivera trying to lead the outside line. Spins the tires a little bit. Getting a bit of a shove from Stephen Gregory. What can Gregory do to get Rivera up to this race lead? Peacock and Doucette on the inside line, trying to run away and get a good shove is Taylor Peacock from Joey Doucette. What can Stephen Thomas do? What is Doucette gonna do? He looked like he wanted to make a move into the middle line. Decided against it. Gonna stay with the 81 for now. Side by side now for second. Peacocks clears the outside line, and Gregory pulls into the inside line. The outside line now is going to fizzle out, Jordan. It's now only has 3 trucks up there. Can they get enough of a run to get by Taylor Peacock? The inside line continues to hold strong.
This is where these drivers really need to make room to fit in. You can see the 97 trying to make room on that inside line because you don't want to get stuck out there, especially when we got now 8 to go at the line. You want to be with the fastest group of these drivers that you can because you don't want to just be left out on the outside of that track on your own with maybe 2 other trucks. So you want to make sure you have enough time to get down and make sure it's clear enough because you don't want to also get yourself into a wreck, into a bad situation. So a great move for the 97 as he's going to place himself into P number 4 right on that bottom line. So he's going to be able to stay nice and calm and run with the faster guys on the inside.
So now the single file line on the bottom of the racetrack returns with only 2 drivers on the outside line. Now, Jordan, the question becomes, when is anybody going to move out of that inside line? And when are they going to do it? And add on to that, who's going to go with them? We're starting to already see it. Scruggs to the outside, Rivera to the outside, Meza to the outside. Devin Painter hops up there from the back line. There are now multiple drivers starting to go up to the outside line. This is going to become a 2-line fight here soon. It might be coming here, Jordan, as here comes Rivera with a run to the outside.
The 11 providing a very, very powerful draft right now. You can see they're just working their way to the front. Rivera takes the lead over Peacock, so they just got to keep up this momentum, and they can roll away with that lead. And if they want, they can drop down if it's clear enough, but you can see the 81 is catching up right to the 97's door. So if they want to make something work, Josh, they got to make it happen fast because that inside line is so powerful when it comes to that outside.
An interesting choice not to pull down for Jose Luis Rivera. He wanted to keep that draft from Dustin Scruggs. He didn't want to leave Scruggs out in the open on the outside line, so he stayed up to continue to run up there. How is that going to affect Rivera now? He did not pull down and get the easy lead on the bottom of the racetrack with 6 to go now. Did that just ruin his chances of a race win? Side by side, down the back straightaway, Scruggs all over the back bumper of Rivera. They continue to shove. Peacock gets a little bit loose. Doucette's on the back bumper of Peacock. Still side by side into 3. This time Rivera can't even clear him. Back into 3 and 4. 5 to go at the line this time by. And Jordan, this is where all the marbles are going to be put on the table, because this is the last opportunity that these drivers will have to try and make these moves. It's all or nothing now. Checkers or wreckers, as Rivera is going to get clear. He pulls down to the bottom, but the 97 up to the lead.
I'm curious to know if the 11's going to really try and get himself in there too, because him and the 97 have been really working so hard, and Scruggs is right there on the outside, so he's got enough to try and pull away, but he's just got to hope that draft behind him is strong enough, because, and you can see the 97's around, so that's going to change everything.
Caution flag is out. We're going to be going into overtime at Talladega. My, oh my. Rivera got turned. Here's the replay. That looked like just a restrictor plate incident at Talladega. Take one more look at it here. What it looked like, yeah, he just got a little bit too far up out of the groove, tried to come back down, and ultimately that gap was filled up right there. Just went up about a half a lane. Peacock was there on the inside. And just like that, we're back under the yellow flag. 4 to go. So when we go back to racing, we will have a green-white checkered overtime finish. Jordan, if this wasn't already intense enough, now we're going into overtime. These drivers are going to get even more aggressive.
You know, they've been held up so much because, Josh, within the last 20 laps, I believe we've had 3 to 4 cautions, and so this is just making them more antsy every single time this caution comes out, because they just want to end this race, and whoever's going to walk away with that win, they just really want to get it done here tonight. We've seen so much tonight that Talladega has offered so much to everyone watching live, and to even these drivers, because they've been put through one heck of a race, and they just got to keep fighting, because they've been going under caution the last 3 times within the last 20 laps. So, like you said, these drivers are just getting more aggressive as the caution flag flies.
So we will go into overtime, and let's remind everybody on how overtime works. Green, white, checkered finish. We'll take the green flag with 2 laps to go. Then they'll come across the line for the white flag. At that point, race is official. No caution can be called. If a caution is called on that green flag lap, we'll rack them up again. We'll go for another restart. I believe we have 2 green-white checkered attempts in this series. We will get a confirmation on that soon. But we will go into overtime here as the field gets 2 to go with 3 to go. We'll go into overtime. We'll get more than our scheduled distance by, I believe, 1 lap here. And how fitting, Jordan, that Dustin Scruggs is back at the front of this field. Remember how dominant he was through the beginning portion of stage number 1 at the beginning of the race? Well, he's going to lead the field into the overtime here. But I want to talk about Tory Thompson in the number 88. Talk about what a drive for Thompson so far tonight. Lowest of 18th. We haven't talked about him all season long. Don't believe he is even anywhere close to touching the top 20 in points, but he sits 3rd in this race. This could be huge for him in the point standings if he can walk away with this race win.
And, you know, definitely that just shows you how many open doors there has been here tonight at Talladega. And, you know, this may be his track of choice. He may like those super speedways where he can just floor it and just keep that truck pinned to the floor and just really focus on running his lines, because he's had a crazy night. Like you said, his lowest was 18th, and now he's running up here in the top 3. So a great night for him, and I'm curious to know, will he walk away with that win? Because that would be huge for him.
It really would be, and if he does, now we are not under a win and you're in scenario when it comes to the point standings in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, but either way, a win nets you maximum possible points for stage number 3. Now, obviously, stage 1 and 2 points add onto that as well, but still great points for a win when it comes to Torrey Thompson, and it could help him just get closer to that playoff cut line tonight. Ready to go back to racing in about 1 lap's time. This will be an overtime restart. They'll take the 1 to go, this time by the start-finish line. And we enter into green-white checker territory. Lights are out on the iRacing pace truck. This has been extended into a green-white checkered finish, the first of 2 that we have available to us tonight. So it is a big question of will they make it back to the checkered flag, or will they make it back to the white flag to try and just complete the overtime? If remember, if a caution comes out on this green flag lap, they'll get racked up again for 1 more restart. So this will be the first green-white checkered attempt of 2. And Jordan, Scruggs, Peacock, Thompson, Doucette, Meza, the top 5. Only driver out of that top 5 I have said that has won a race this season is Dustin Scruggs. That is, like you said, how many open doors there are at the front of this field and how many upset winners that we could see at the end of this overtime.
You know, I'm really looking forward to it because this could be anybody's race, because we've seen so many cautions. These drivers are ready to go at it for the next 2 laps. And Josh, it's going to be one crazy finish because these drivers are feeling so aggressive right now to a point. They are going to push the throttle to the floor to a point where you can't even push it further to try and take home that win. So I'm looking forward to this green flag restart tonight.
Who knows what to expect? We can expect just about anything from this overtime restart. Pace truck down and into the safety of the pit lane. Control car is the 11 of Dustin Scruggs at the front of this field. Who will make it back to the checkered flag to take the win from virtual Talladega? Field works their way through the tri-oval. Green flag is back out. We are racing in Dega. Great start for Scruggs. Great start for Peacock. Great start for Thompson. They remain your top 3. Doucette's going to fall to 4th. Now Meza goes to the inside of Doucette as they go side by side with 2 laps to go. To the back straightaway. Inside line starting to form up, but Taylor Peacock is going to need help, Jordan. If he wants to get by Scruggs, he's all over his back bumper as they go down the super stretch.
He's going to need a push if he wants to make a push to that lead, and so you can see a lot of drivers really forming to the lines they want to go, but that inside line is where it's at right now. If the 81 wants to pass, he needs help from the 88 or somebody else, because passing at Talladega is pretty hard when it comes to momentum and everything. So you really hope if you're going to go and pass, you have someone out there on that outside to really help you push through that pass.
White flag this time by. If they make it to the line, this race is official. They do. The white flag is out. 1 to go here from Talladega. How is this race going to conclude? Dustin Scruggs leads the inside. Thomas gets turned. He gets turned by Richards. More involved in that incident. No caution can be called on the white flag. We stay green as Dustin Scruggs leads the way. It's Joey Doucette on the outside line trying to get a run. Can he get one is the big question. Side by side for the race lead through turn 3. Taylor Peacock all over the back bumper of Scruggs. Can he make a move coming to the stripe? Joey Doucette trying to side draft off of 4. Scruggs goes for the block. Peacock on the bottom line. 3 wide coming to the line. Make it 4. Thompson goes to the apron across the line. Who's gonna get it? 5 wide for a moment, and Dustin Scruggs by inches takes the win at Talladega. by 3/100ths of a second. Dustin Scruggs wins from Talladega and goes 2 in a row. Gets 3 wins in the win column. The first driver this season to do it. Jordan, we were wondering how intense the finish would be. How about just about 4 to 5 wide coming through the tri-oval? Let's take a look at this replay.
You know, if you're going to win at Talladega, what a way to do it. You could see everyone forming just to try and find a way to get to that checkered first. You could see bumping and banging, and you could see the 16 and the 11 were side by side for that win. You could see Meza right beside them too, but the 11 just comes out victorious. And Josh, from 20 to go, we knew it was going to be a crazy finish. I didn't expect it was going to be that crazy, but we went 5 wide for that win. But a huge congratulations for the 11 of Dustin Scruggs.
Take a look again. We'll take a look at the freeze frame here. You can see just how close it was. It was an insanely close finish. Here they come down to the line. You can see Gregory, Peacock, and Thompson spinning. Doucette in the middle. Here's Meza on the outside, possibly the most unexpected one. There's the freeze frame. And you can see by about a half truck length, Scruggs is able to get it. Meza comes home P2. Let's take a look at your full finishing results in the very exciting Fall Slammer 213 from Talladega. Dustin Scruggs is going to walk away with the win off of the pole as well. Raul Meza comes home second. Joey Doucette, Stephen Gregory, and Taylor Peacock, your top 5. Tory Thompson, Jose Luis Rivera, Stephen Thomas, Bill Lester, and Clint Mata, your top 10. Jeffrey Sickles, Brandon Bullock, Robbie Richards, Keith Bradley, and Dana Shepard rounding out your top 15. Chris Cinnamon, Ben Ganoinski, Devin Painter, Cody Knott, and Eric Zimmerman all running into troubles today. They round out your top 20. Back from there, it is Brady LaBuffin 21st, Logan Quinn 22nd, Blake Lothian, Kyle Hess, and Jacob Klinkart rounding out the drivers who took the green flag here from virtual Talladega. And it is time to get into the post-race show and grab an interview with our race winner, Dustin Scruggs. We'll leave the photo finish up on your screen as we go through post-race interviews. But Dustin Scruggs joining us in the booth now. Dustin, just what a way to win at Talladega. What were the emotions, first of all, coming to the line there 4 and 5 wide and getting it by about a half truck length when you finally came across the stripe?
Man, you know, every time you come down to the finish on Talladega, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, you get a little, you know, get your adrenaline going, and you're ready to see what happens. So,
and you qualified on the pole. Can only assume with that, just a lot of confidence in the 11 truck tonight, because you did fall a little bit back in the pack throughout the middle of that race, but we blinked and we saw you right back up to the front end of stage 3, exactly when you needed to be up at the front.
Yeah, I got a little damage in one of those wrecks that were right in front of me, and so I started in the back, and I didn't expect my truck to be fast, but it went straight back up to the front, and so there you have it.
Well, now we move on, and know you're on a bit of a part-time schedule. We have Martinsville in 1 week. Can we catch you at Martinsville, and can you go 2 in a row and get 4 wins on the season? You've already got 3.
You know, I'll be honest. Martinsville is one of those tracks where there's a lot of wrecks, a lot of motions and stuff. And since I'm part time, you know, out of respect for these guys that are full time, I'll probably sit that one out because I don't want to be the one to get anybody upset there, you know, if they're racing for points. So we'll see, though. You never know.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in the broadcast booth here, Dustin. Congratulations on your win from Talladega.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great to hear from the 11 of Dustin Scruggs, and we'll transition over to Raul Meza. Second place finish here from Talladega. Raul, it was just by about a half truck length at the line. Are you feeling a little bit gutted that you couldn't get that win, or was that run to the finish all that you needed, and you're at least on a little bit of a cloud 9 coming out of Talladega with a great run?
Well, it was a whole lot of fun. I tell you that for sure, man. I was able to carry out a lot of momentum there after that last wreck, and I was hoping I would get that win, but just wasn't quite enough. Still P2, happy about it for sure.
And definitely your best finish of the season. First time seeing you up in those podium spots. What does this do for the confidence in that number 93 camp tonight? Because a good finish could lead to more, and especially as you're in 10th in the points, some pretty consistent finishes, but personal best of the season for you. Going to continue to climb above that top 16 cut line as we only have about 3 rounds left before the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good confidence booster there for sure. Haven't had quite the finishes that I wish I would want in these past races, but P2 here, it's good. We'll take it. And, I was trying to get as many points as I can on the stages, and it looked a little aggressive out there with these guys, but I was able to get a couple of points there on the stages and then come out with P2. It's a win right there for me.
Martinsville in 1 week's time. Can you get one spot up, grab that win at the short track?
That's the goal. That's the goal, fellas. We're going to go out there. We're going to take this 93 BP Racing truck out there and see what we can do. It's Martinsville. We know what can happen at Martinsville. My goal is survive and then hopefully be there at the end for a great finish.
Well, thank you very much for joining us in the broadcast booth, Raul. Congratulations on your second place finish here from Virtual Dega.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for putting out a great show out there for us.
Thank you very much. That was Raul Meza, your second place finisher from Virtual Talladega. Let's speak with Joey Doucette, a third place finish for you tonight, Joey, as you join us in the commentary booth. Good run for you, and I believe your best finish of the season, if I'm not mistaken. What does this do in that number 16 camp? Because you're so close, just couldn't get it at the line.
A lot of momentum going into the next few races, especially with the playoffs coming up. But no, it was nerve-wracking because I thought I was going to get the win when I pulled that move on Scruggs there, and then all heck broke loose, and the rule came by, but it was a hell of a finish. And I hope that was on the broadcast. I haven't looked at the replay, but it looks probably amazing.
It was very exciting to watch up here in the commentary booth. And tonight you showed some really good promise running at the front for pretty much the entire middle portion of that race, closer to the end as well. Does this give you at least a little bit more confidence, especially on super speedways? Because we still have Daytona that's coming up later on in the playoffs. If you make it into the playoffs, obviously more consistent finishes hopefully on the horizon for you. Does that give you a little bit more confidence going into that race that is set in a time that it really is a little bit more nerve-wracking being in the playoffs?
Most of the time at super speedways, even Daytona, Talladega, I like to run in the back, just avoid the big wrecks. So we had a couple of them. I got up there, I went back, didn't get no stage points because I wanted to make sure that my truck was there at the end. And that's what I think I'm going to do at Daytona also, is just sit back, let everything happen. If it goes green, great. If it doesn't, and I can avoid all the wrecks and I'm there at the end, just like tonight, then I should be good.
7th in the points going into Martinsville. More of the same consistency from you in the 16 camp as we get closer and closer to that playoff cutoff?
Martinsville is my tough track. I don't know how well I'm going to do there, but hopefully I can get a lot of practice in this upcoming week, and hopefully I can get another top 3, top 5, top 10. Just like to be consistent. Just out of the Warrior Raps racing team, Cody, I kind of got into him. Big wreck in front of me. I checked up. I didn't even say there was a wreck, and he hit me in the rear end, ruined his race. So I apologize to Cody. But for Warrior Raps, I also just like to do a couple of shout outs to my sponsors of Tough Ring, Sim Shots, Sim Pro, No Sweat, Pulse Poppers, Butt Kicker, and brimsbugs.com. And I also like to thank you guys for hosting this thing, and or not hosting this thing, but broadcasting it. And I'd like to thank Brady for holding down the shack here in NASRA. So
Well, thank you very much for joining us in the broadcast booth. That is Joey Doucette, third place finish for him tonight from virtual Talladega. And make sure you join us in 1 week's time when we go racing from virtual Martinsville. Coverage begins at 8:50 p.m. Eastern time right here on Racecraft TV. So make sure you join us for that one. This will conclude tonight's broadcast of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series Fall Slammer 213 from virtual Talladega. Congratulations to our race winner, Dustin Scruggs. Jordan Hicks, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in 1 week's time from virtual Martinsville.